The Joe Rogan Experience.
But Joe Biden owns Come On Man now.
That is true.
He really does. Come on, man.
Crystal was just showing me a video that he flipped out at some reporter today. Did you see this? He's at this summit with Putin, and Biden lost his shit. He was asked a question that he didn't like. He turned around and started yelling.
No.
Yeah, no. He was very cranky old man status in this.
Dude,
I think it's from Fox News, Jamie, if you want to show Joe that.
He's legitimately fallen apart, and it's really sad. You know what's really weird, though, is the media's... First of all, the left-wing media completely ignoring how odd it is the way he behaves. Like the one 9-year-old girl that was sitting there with her legs crossed, like, look at her over there, look at like a 19-year-old girl with her legs crossed. Like, what the fuck are you saying? Like, what is that?
So there's...
But hold on,
I'm sorry, go ahead, yeah.
But then they'll like pretend things are happening that aren't. Like Glenn Greenwald called it out today on Twitter. I was reading his Twitter feed. Some guy was talking about how Putin and Biden shook hands, and then how Putin looked away, and then Biden's looking him in the eyes, as if he's trying to say that in any way Putin is scared of Joe Biden, that Joe Biden is like dominating Putin. Like, what if bizarre, like, and Glenn described it perfectly. Like, go to Glenn Greenwald's Twitter, because it's so strange, because they do this thing where these world leaders, they shake hands and they look at the camera. And they shake hands and look at the press. And so in that moment, Biden had forgotten to look at the press. And he's making it seem like Biden's staring him down. He's showing him what a real man's like. It's like a bizarre fantasy, like almost like a pro wrestling thing. Like, you know that you can't possibly believe what you're saying is true. That Putin, who's a fucking straight up killer, literally, and a judo black belt, who's the fucking head of the Soviet Union, well, whatever,
Former
Russia.
Soviet Union, Russia, yeah.
Forever. And probably will be till he dies. Killed a gang of people. Killed a bunch of people who don't like him. Killed a bunch of people who talk shit about him. Made journalists disappear, allegedly, all those things I said, allegedly. Like,
oh, there's the handshake one, okay.
Like, they look at each other, shaking the eye, and then Putin looks away to the press. And
they're making something out of that.
Imagine. Look at this. But look at this. Look, scroll up, please.
Yeah, look at the way
scroll. No, where you had it, so I could see it. Just no worries. Biden looked Putin in the eye. Putin immediately looked away. What? But go to Greenwald's, because the way he covered it is hilarious. The way Greenwald made fun of him. Well, if you go click show this thread. So scroll down there. Scroll right there. No, back. Right there. The obsession over who squeezed whose hands hardest, I guess he meant let go. Who let go first of the grip, whose body language shows masculine authority, and whose shows submission is fucking demented. A bunch of liberal professionals not allowed to speak this way except here. So true. That's exactly what it is. He said Joe Biden can barely complete a sentence. Half the time he drifts off in the middle of his words. He's constantly bowing his head and muttering about how he'll get in trouble if he continues. Nobody is fucking afraid of him. Stop feeding liberal hordes this warped pablum. That's a weird word. Pablum?
Yeah. So,
pablum. You ever use that word, Jamie?
Pablum's a good word. So it's interesting because this is why people hate the media, right? Everybody feels like they're arguing more from a narrative than they are just sort of objectively describing what's happening. And with Biden, it's particularly weird because early on in the Democratic primary, when the media was convinced it's not going to be Biden, it's going to be Pete Buttigieg, or it's going to be Kamala Harris, or it's going to be, whoever, fill in the blank with whoever imploded and was terrible. They actually were open and honest about the fact, for example, that Joe Biden's sort of sundowning and he's not all there and he can't really complete full sentences. And so they actually were the ones who brought it up in debates with him, for example. Julian Castro very famously was like, do you even know what you just said like 5 seconds ago? This was a big moment in the debate. And so the media would openly talk about, I don't know if Joe's all there anymore. But the second that he got the nomination,
they stopped.
Nobody's allowed to say it. And if you say it, you're a right winger. Exactly. Yeah. Even though, I was the biggest Bernie supporter out there, and I was like, here's a compilation of Joe Biden clearly having some mental issues.
Yeah.
And so it was just incredibly dishonest. And to your point on Putin and Russia, the narrative that they're using for Biden is he's tough, he's standing up to him. It was the exact opposite for Trump, where they were saying, oh, he's Vladimir Putin's puppet.
Yeah.
And they're actually incorrect for both of those things. So in terms of what Trump was doing, Trump bombed Syria, who's Russia's top ally. Trump rejected this pipeline called the Nord Stream pipeline, which would have greatly helped Russia. Trump armed Ukrainian rebels on the ground who are fighting Russia. Trump did a NATO buildup on Russia's border. Now, I don't agree with those policies, but those policies are incredibly hawkish and raise tensions with Russia. Now, in the case of Biden, Biden actually just approved the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which is a pipeline that's going to greatly help Russia because it makes it so that Russian oil and gas is going to be used in Germany now. And so that's a very peaceful move. That's not hawkish. That's not raising tensions. So he's basically giving Putin something that Putin wants, which again, I actually agree with that. I see no problem with the pipeline, but they're framing it as if like, oh, Joe Biden, he's so weak and he's, Vladimir Putin, or excuse me, Joe Biden is so strong and he's dominating Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, I don't understand why they think that they can do that and that people won't be more hesitant to believe the news.
Dude, you would be surprised at, unfortunately, some of this stuff lands. There is a backlash to it, but some of this stuff lands. I saw a great Pew poll the other day. When it came to Donald Trump, it was like over 70% of the time they talked about him, they would talk about his like character and leadership qualities or lack thereof.
Yeah.
And so when that's how you're talking about the person, you can say whatever the fuck you want. Because what does that even mean? Let me talk about this person's character. It's subjective. Somebody could say, I think he's got great character. Somebody could say, I think he's got terrible character. So it was always out of the realm of policy.
Right.
And then that same poll, it was like 60 or 65% of the time when they talked about Biden, they talked about policy. So there was this huge dichotomy in how they discussed the presidents, and obviously the ones who they liked, they'd go a little softer on. And when it came to Trump and they despised him, they would talk about. And the crazy thing, the thing that drives me crazy, Joe, is that there are a lot of ways to go after Trump that are actually very intelligent that I would agree with. When you stick to policy, I disagree with him on almost everything when it comes to policy, but they didn't do that.
Right.
It was all about he's a bad person, character assassination all day long, which is gross.
Do you think that Biden is making actual decisions?
That's a good question.
I don't think I would ever say that about any other president. Other than Trump. Some of the Trump stuff, I was like, I wonder like how much he like pawns off on the generals.
Well, W. Bush was also an idiot too, you know.
But we all knew that Dick Cheney was kind of
pulling the puppet strings, yeah. So in the case of Biden, I think it's 50-50. I think some of the stuff he probably makes and some of the stuff he doesn't. I mean, he clearly is having struggles mentally and he's getting very old, and I think everybody around him knows that. But a lot of the big decisions, I'm sure they have to land on his desk. And
what did they do for him during the debates with Trump when he was sharp? That one debate. They had to,
and I said this too with the Bernie debate as well. And this is all speculation. I just want everybody to know. I have no facts on this. I'm talking out of my ass. But yeah, I think he was on some sort of upper that allowed him to be sharp.
I feel like it had to be more than that.
So you think it's some like anti?
I don't know.
Psychotic or?
But he was in the groove. Like he acted like a normal person.
Well, when he was younger, he actually, again, I don't agree with him politically. I think he's a terrible corporatist, but he was sharp in terms of debating. There was that debate with Paul Ryan in 2012. You remember that? He made Paul Ryan look like a little baby.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. The 2012 VP debate. It was amazing.
You're such a politics fan. You talk about debates like some people talk about playoff games.
And guess what? I watch them like that, too. I got my popcorn. I got Twitter up. I'm live tweeting them. I get all excited and into it.
Catch new episodes of The Joe Rogan Experience for free only on Spotify. Watch back catalog JRE videos on Spotify, including clips. Easily, seamlessly switch between video and audio experience. On Spotify, you can listen to the JRE in the background while using other apps and can download episodes to save on data cost, all for free. Spotify is absolutely free. You don't have to have a premium account to watch new JRE episodes. You just need to search for the JRE on your Spotify app. Go to Spotify now to get this full episode of The Joe Rogan Experience.